We often use the term fearless leader with equal parts humor and seriousness. The heroes always lead their groups without an ounce of fear or doubt to victory. Or do they?
A Gallup study of more than 7,200 adults found that getting away from a manager was the reason for about 50% having left a job at some point in their career.
Mind games like gaslighting and goalpost moving have us doubting our sanity, leaving us feeling battered, bruised, and exhausted.
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Councils podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs. This is Inside Forbes Councils.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Inside Forbes Councils podcast. I'm your producer, Stephen Ganoza. People don't leave jobs, they leave managers. We hear this all the time. But how then can companies and employees identify, respond to, and manage problematic leadership? This week, we'll hear from 3 Forbes Councils members who will share their expert advice on negative leadership traits and how to deal with them. Tonya Echols is an executive and leadership coach at Thrive Coaching Solutions. She's going to discuss why the romanticized idea of the fearless leader is misguided, why someone who's fearless may not be the best manager, and why fear can be beneficial.
Hello, I'm Tonya Echols, a certified executive and leadership coach, and I work with individuals and teams to develop into optimal leaders who influence and inspire others. Let's begin today with one of my favorite things, a powerful quote. It is unwise to be too sure of one's own wisdom. It is healthy to be reminded that the strongest might weaken and the wisest might err. Mahatma Gandhi. We often use the term fearless leader with equal parts humor and seriousness. The heroes always lead their groups without an ounce of fear or doubt to victory. Or do they? The word fearless is often used to inspire us to take action beyond our limitations, to live without fear. The definition of fearless is, of course, to be free of fear. And in theory, that sounds wonderful. Who wouldn't want to make every decision in life without the barriers of the baggage and negative messages that fear creates? However, there is a flaw in the concept of fearless leadership. As with most things in life, there is a light and a dark side, a disadvantage and a benefit. And as much as we want to avoid it altogether, in order to truly face fear head on, we want to understand and even appreciate that fear does, in fact, provide us aid in certain ways as well. I know this sounds odd at first, but think about it. When you learned as a child that stovetops are extremely hot and will burn your skin, you developed an understanding that now leads you to avoid burning your skin by using tools like pot holders to protect yourself. You still pick up things from a hot stove, but you do it in a smart and effective way. Having the fear of burning yourself doesn't prevent you from cooking. It allows you to make better decisions as to how to accomplish that task in a way that will create a successful outcome. Now, let's translate that to your role as a leader. At some point, we all learn that making important decisions without a clear strategy or supporting data usually ends up in a less than desirable result. We either overlook key areas or fail to realize the tangential impact of our decisions on others. A few times of getting quote-unquote burned by that teaches us to make decisions with a more holistic view and collaborative, coordinated approach. The next time we are in a similar position, that learning, and yes, that fear of making the same mistake again, actually helps us take more informed action that results in a better outcome. In this case, fear is a benefit, not a detriment. With that said, taken too far, a healthy fear that prevents you from doing something frivolous is very different from fear that prevents you from expanding into new areas of development. The tricky thing about fear is that as leaders, we want to learn to assess our fears and determine if they are keeping us small and limited or helping us make wiser decisions. A few years ago, I was asked last minute to cover an important session for one of my mentors. My first instinct was to say no. I didn't feel qualified or prepared to take it on. And to be 100% honest, I was terrified. This project was something I hadn't done before, and I was afraid of not handling it properly and, quite frankly, having my abilities questioned if it didn't work out. I was second-guessing myself and spiraling into a deep pool of self-doubt. Then I stopped and asked myself if any of my fears were based on tangible issues, and my response was no. It was at that moment I decided the reason I wanted to take on this project was because I was afraid to do it. I took the time to assess my true feelings and the source of my fear and chose not to ignore or disregard it, but instead to overcome it. Basically, I was no longer afraid of my fear. I turned around, stared it down, and consciously decided it was not valid. I chose to move forward despite the nagging doubts and trust in my abilities and decisions. Great leaders don't ignore potential challenges. They acknowledge them, adjust as or if needed, and move forward with confidence. By addressing the fear, you release its power to influence your decisions and hold you back from accomplishing your goals and those of your organization. There are various quotes around fear that all boil down to the idea that if you aren't afraid of your goals or your dreams, they probably aren't big enough. Another benefit of fear is that it can be a signal that you are about to make a major development in a new area. If growth and easy was fun, everyone would do it, and we would all be these incredibly impactful, sentient beings. Leadership is not always easy, and sometimes it is about as far away from fun as you can imagine. That can be 100% frightening. And you know what? That's 100% okay. Don't be afraid of your fear, but also don't accept your fear as truth. Take it as a symbol of your evolution as a leader and figure out what you can learn from that fear. Embrace that learning and then incorporate it into your arsenal like a vaccine. Vaccines build up your immune system by exposing you to controlled amounts of a virus, allowing you to develop an immunity to it. Similarly, we build up our immunity to fear by facing it, controlling how we respond to it, and then overcoming it. While it may feel inspiring to just say we're fearless and skip all that hard work, the true power over fear comes not from just saying we don't have fear. Instead, that power comes from knowing we have the ability to rise above and yes, even use what we learn from it about ourselves to accomplish immediate goals and positively impact our long-term development as leaders. Avoid the need to be fearless and instead gain the power to consciously overcome your fears. This has been Tonya Echols, Executive and Leadership Coach. To learn more about developing into the leader you are truly meant to be, connect with me on LinkedIn or on my website, thrivecoachingsolutions.com.
Are you a successful executive or entrepreneur with insights to share? Learn more about our invitation-only communities at ForbesCouncils.com. Forbes Councils members have the opportunity to collaborate with fellow business leaders to overcome challenges and create new opportunities. Members also have access to support benefits that help them save time and money, and a platform, Community Voice, on Forbes.com, through which they can amplify their voices and exchange ideas. See if you qualify at ForbesCouncils.com.
Vivian Blade is the president and CEO of Experts in Growth Leadership Consulting. She's going to discuss the impact of toxic leadership on retention and the costs that result from additional hiring, onboarding, and lost productivity. She'll also share 5 strategies that organizations can utilize to mitigate the effects of negative leadership.
Hi, my name is Vivian Blade, President and CEO of Experts in Growth Leadership Consulting. I work with companies to build solid and sustainable bench strength in their leadership pipeline. Today, I want to talk with you about the effect of toxic managers on employee turnover and share with you 5 high-impact strategies to finally deal with the issue. Toxic managers remain a leading cause of employee turnover. Let's look at the hard facts. A Gallup study of more than 7,200 adults found that getting away from a manager was the reason for about 50% having left a job at some point in their career. High employee turnover comes at a significant cost, yet costs due to poor managers can be largely avoided. According to Josh Burson of Deloitte, he said that the cost of losing an employee can range from tens of thousands of dollars to 1.5 to 2 times the employee's annual salary. So we see that the costs are inclusive of recruiting and onboarding and training, lost productivity, engagement, and more. Many of these are not hard costs, so companies don't adequately measure the consequences. Now let's look behind the data. What are the experiences that move employees to the point of deciding that it's time to leave? In my conversations and coaching with professionals, 7 reasons emerge most frequently, and I want to touch on just 3 of those with you here today. The first reason I want to touch on is feeling undervalued. And that's where employees simply don't feel heard. Their boss doesn't ask for or consider their opinions or ideas. They work long hours or put in the extra effort on a project, and they don't even get a thank you. Oftentimes, voice tone and demeanor often seems to lack respect. The second reason I want to touch on is micromanaging. And here, employees say that they are told what to do and how to do it. It's a my way or the highway mentality. New ideas aren't welcome from them. They feel like their manager is always hovering over them, almost smothering them. This breeds a lack of trust and a lot of stress. The third reason I want to mention is lack of feedback, especially positive. Employees often aren't given clear guidance on what's expected of them, and then managers frequently cancel performance meetings, so employees don't even know how they're doing. And they are rarely, if ever, recognized for a job well done. That's just 3 of the 7 reasons why employees tend to feel like they've got to go. Managers usually exhibit more than one of these 7 behaviors, and therefore the problem becomes chronic for employees who work for them. These negative behaviors that managers exhibit also extend to peer relationships, which causes them alienation and problems with their overall business performance as well. So who's ultimately responsible? Accountability for your organization's leadership capability rests not only with the individual manager, but executive and human resource leaders are just as responsible for poor leadership performance. And in order to reverse these trends, you must invest in ongoing assessment and development, support, and accountability. While many organizations blame the manager and resort to training as the typical solution, we've all heard it, that becomes the easy way out, and it just is not working. Use these 5 high-impact strategies to lead a turnaround in your organization's leadership capability. Strategy number 1, assess the current situation. Here, you'll study the contributing factors for employee turnover and understand how much is attributed to bad managers. So where are your problems? Strategy number 2, stop sugarcoating the issue. Use data to surface the real issues. Be willing to deal with problem managers, which means you've got to have the tough conversations and take appropriate actions when required. Strategy number 3, help managers become self-aware. Proactively source and recommend assessments that are appropriate for varying needs. 360s, emotional intelligence, leadership style, personality, and behavioral style assessments are all solid tools. Develop a system for assessing their needs, planning personal development, and evaluating progress along the way. Strategy number 4, provide clarity on expectations. Make expectations clear using a defined set of role accountabilities, values, and corresponding behaviors. and make sure you hold managers accountable to those. The fifth strategy is to focus on overall employee experience. Understand how managers contribute to the overall employee experience and provide the support resources such as coaching and mentoring and feedback to enable managers to create the kind of culture where employees want to work and they feel valued. It's time to stop moving these toxic managers around to different departments in hopes that the problem will solve itself. These are practical steps that you can take to finally address this problem in your company. You can engage these 5 high-impact strategies pretty quickly and begin to make a lasting impact in the lives of your colleagues and the health of your company. If you want to learn more, feel free to contact me directly or through my website at vivianblade.com. You can also find me on social media at my handle at Vivian Blade. That's Vivian, Vivian, Blade, Blade.
Frances McIntosh is the founder of Intentional Coaching. She's going to expose one expression of toxic leadership that is not always recognizable.
Hi, my name is Frances McIntosh. I'm the founder and CEO of Intentional Coaching. I'm a leadership coach and a Daring Way facilitator, which is a program designed and based on Dr. Brené Brown's research. Today, I'm going to share a trait that toxic leaders may have that is not always obvious. Toxic behaviors are a major energy drain in teams and organizations. The web is awash with tips and insights on dealing with narcissists and how we are drawn in by their charm and charisma. Mind games like gaslighting and goalpost moving have us doubting our sanity, leaving us feeling battered, bruised, and exhausted. But did you know that there is another toxic trait that may have crept into your team or leadership unnoticed? This behavior is subtler and may have been perceived as simply having high standards or an intense work ethic. What am I talking about? Perfectionism. It is the behavior where an individual is constantly striving for unobtainable standards or judging their self-worth on achievements. Generally, it is a good idea to have high standards. Setting challenging goals help us have direction and purpose. And from a psychological standpoint, we need a feeling of accomplishment in our lives. However, when these goals are unachievable or trigger addictive behaviors, it is time to reassess. Perfectionism can be driven by the goal of success or, for some, by fear of failure. And yes, some perfectionists are narcissists. Perfectionism can develop in childhood through praise of academic or athletic achievement, or by punishment for making mistakes, leaving the child's thought process as, next time I will be perfect so that my parents won't punish me. Or it can be by modeling, copying the behaviors of those around them. Perfectionism lacks flexibility. It's an always or never thought process, an unrealistic and rigid mindset that builds boundaries. And yet, there is more than one type of perfectionism. With more than one type, how can this condition be rigid? Often, this is demonstrated by the impact your perfectionist leader has on you and your team. Number 1, self-orientated perfectionism. These leaders focus on their flaws and failures and appear to be too busy perfecting their own work to have time for their team's questions or problems. 2, other-orientated perfectionism. These leaders may not be perfectionists themselves, but they expect you to be. 3. Socially orientated perfectionism. These leaders are focused on one external question: what will people think if I fail? And number 4, self-promotion perfectionism. These leaders are actively displaying their perfection to others, attempting to look, demonstrate, or behave in a perfect manner. The bottom line: perfectionism in any form is a constant speed bump. It slows down your team, kills motivation, and stunts creativity. Often, perfectionism is worn as a badge of honor. In reality, it is an armor, a 10-ton shield, slowing you down and your team. And it's hiding the authentic you. If you want to learn more about this and other topics, you can reach me through my website, intentional-coaching.com.
Leaders can make or break a job. To retain talent, managers need to check themselves to make sure they're not engaging in activity that is pushing away their best employees. I want to thank Tonya Echols, Vivian Blade, and Frances McIntosh for sharing their insights. We'll see you on the next episode.
This has been Inside Forbes Councils. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of the Forbes Councils and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Forbes Council, learn more at forbescouncils.com.